Hello everyone, and welcome to my Megalith deck profile. So this is my favourite deck at the minute, as there's just so much you can do with it in terms of combo lines and techs. You'll mainly want to go first for this build, but going second isn't too bad either, as you can usually play through a few negates or OTK quite easily. So to begin with, we play 2 copies of Megalith Aratron. So the effect in hand is to ritual summon any Megalith, and this is a quick effect, and the effect on field prevents targeting once per turn. So his field effect comes up less often, but it is useful for protecting cards like Fool or any combos you want to do post turn 2. The hand effect being a quick effect is really good, as it lets you use him as a pseudo hand trap on your opponent's first turn. If you open Aratron and either Fool or Bethor, then you can pop 2 of your opponent's cards mid combo, and in game 2 or 3 his effect becomes better because if your opponent droplets or Dark Rulers your board, or even Kaijus, you can still bring out Bethor if you've searched it in hand, which is something you want to do, and then your opponent won't expect it. Then we play 2 copies of the aforementioned Bethor. So his effect in hand is the same as Aratron's, but it's not a quick effect. So the effect on field is when he's summoned, he can destroy cards on your opponent's side of the field up to the number of ritual monsters in your grave with different names. The idea is you bring him out with either a Fool or an Aratron on your opponent's turn, and you basically end their turn because you can easily pop 4 or 5 cards. It's super effective as well when going first against back row decks. It's basically an auto win. Next, we play 1 copy of Megalith Phalig. So again, effect in hand is the same as Bethor's, but the effect on field is that all monsters you control gain 300 attack for each ritual monster in your grave. This boosts all of your monsters, so it's really good for OTKing or just getting over big boss monsters. So we play 5 of the level 8s as well, because if we come up against floodgates that negate spells as well, this just helps add a little bit of consistency. Next we play 3 Megalith Ophiel. So when summoned, he searches any Megalith monster from deck. This isn't a once per turn either. The other effect is you ritual summon using him and other cards in your hand or field as material. So this deck can easily get 3 searches a turn using Ophiel, which makes this card one that you really want to summon out, which is why we play it 3. Next we play 3 copies of Megalith Haggith. So this is the same as Ophiel, but he just searches a Megalith spell or trap instead of a monster. And then we play the 1 copy of Megalith Ock. So the field effect is when summoned you can draw a card then discard one, and also as a quick effect you can ritual summon any monster from your hand using it and other cards in your hand or field as material. This is used to bring out Magician of Black Chaos Max mostly, especially in this deck. You don't really want to open it because you want to summon it from deck using Fool on your opponent's turn, but it's not the worst card to draw either because it does add a little bit of consistency too. Next we play 3 copies of Megalith Fool. So I'd say this is probably the best card in the deck. I play him at 3 because it means I can use him more with Aratron on my opponent's turn, and it also puts less pressure on the searches from Haggith or Ophiel as well. So it just makes the deck a bit more resilient to hand traps. His effect is that when summoned he targets a ritual monster in the grave, adds it back to the hand and becomes that ritual monster's level. So you can do some really nice Xyz plays with him, and he provides such good recursion, so you can easily do some rank 4s or rank 8s as well. The other effect is a quick effect to summon a Megalith monster from the deck. So this card just provides so much flexibility and power to the deck. What you want to do is you want to summon out a Bethor on your opponent's turn, or an Ock to go into Magician of Black Chaos Max. Now for the Megalith spells and traps, we play 3 copies of Megalith Unformed. So this is a quick play to either ritual summon a Megalith monster from deck using monsters that are exactly double its level, or to make your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack for each ritual monster on the field. So the second effect is niche, but it is useful because it doesn't target or anything. This card makes the level 8s as well more valuable, because this with say just a Phalig can get you to Ophiel, then to Fool, then Fool can bring out another level 8, and then you've got yourself a rank 8 or a few pops with Bethor as well. Then we play 1 copy of Megalith Portal. This is the field spell that stops each of your Megaliths being destroyed by battle once per turn. The second effect is a once per turn, and it's when you ritual summon a Megalith, you can target a ritual monster in grave and just add it back to your hand. Really good recursion, and the battle protection is all quite nice because often your opponent will just overlook it. It's played at 1 because it's really easy to search out with Haggith, but again opening it isn't too bad either because you'll just use your Haggith to search other cards. Lastly, for the Megalith cards, I play 1 copy of Emergence. So it's played at 1 for the same reason as Portal. It lets you monster reborn a Megalith once per turn, but bear in mind the Megalith did have to be ritual summoned beforehand. This just gives the deck more recursion and again helps you play around cards like Dark Ruler or Droplets. Next, I'll just quickly go through my Impcantation engine. So I play 3 copies of Impcantation Chalice Slime. I play 1 copy of Talismandra and 1 copy of Candle. I play 3 copies of Pencil Plume and 1 copy of Inception. The reason behind this ratio is you really want to open up the Chalice Slime or the Pencil Plume because you want to search the candle to add the ritual spell, and then you can recur using the ritual spell engrave to bring out the Talismandra. Opening the Talismandra isn't too bad, it just means you'll have probably a less powerful turn 1 board, and opening the candle is really bad unless you have, say, a Manju, the Inception spell already, or you have access to Extra Foolish Burial as well. So yeah, this just adds a lot of consistency and power to the deck. It probably works better than the Drytron engine with Megalith just because it uses levels instead of attack as well, which works really nicely with the Megalith monsters. Now for the other monsters, I play 1 copy of Magician of Black Chaos Max. So when he's summoned, you tribute a monster for cost and your opponent can't activate monster effects for the rest of the turn. You bring him out using Ock on your opponent's turn, and if you resolve this, then you're going to win the game most likely. I then play the 1 copy of Cyber Angel Benton. So Benton just searches your Light Fairy when tributed. It's not once per turn, so it's highly abusable with cards like Full. So say Benton's in your grave, you summon out Full, you target it, Full becomes level 6, then you add back the Benton, and then you can use Benton to ritual summon using Full to bring out, say, an Ophiel, and then you can get 2 searches off of that, so it's really nice. And then we also play the 1 copy of Artifact Lancia, just because it's searchable with Ben 10. It's quite nice. Hard drawing it as well just makes your first turn that much more powerful and allows more interruption on your opponent's turn as well. I then play 3 copies of Kokimeru Guardian. This is my Droll and Nibiru protection, but it can also stop cards like Gam as well. I wouldn't usually use it on an Ash or anything unless I had to. So its effect is to tribute itself and then you negate a monster effect. This deck doesn't need the normal summon, so at best this card just lets you set up your boards, and at worst it's a negation on your opponent's turn. It is also searchable through cards like Gallant Grant as well, and the fact that it's a level 4 means it works well with Unformed for bringing out the Full, or other Xyz plays as well. And then lastly for the main deck monsters, I play 2 copies of Manju. This just searches you any ritual spell or monster and is searchable with Ben 10 as well. I do play this over Diviner just because it's a lot cheaper for a start, but also it's a level 4, so it means again you can use Unformed to bring it out or do some Xyz plays, and yeah, it's just far more budget as well, so nicer option. Now for the spells, I play 3 Preparation of Rites. This just searches any level 7 or lower ritual monster from your deck. You can also add back a ritual spell, which will always be Inception. It gets you to most of your Megaliths, and it also starts the Impcantation engine. Isn't a once per turn, so it's just a really good consistency card. And lastly, for the main deck, I play 3 copies of Extra Foolish Burial. So you pay half your life points and send a card from your extra deck to the graveyard, usually Herald of the Arclight, and you can't set cards the turn you activate this effect. This is a really good extender for the deck, and although it does conflict with Megalith Emergence, I'll judge whether or not I need to use it based on my opening hand. So it's sort of a last resort, and it also helps deal with annoying monsters like Zeus or Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. Now for the extra deck, I play 1 copy of Geonator Transverser, 1 Cross Sheep, and 1 Nightmare Phoenix. Geonator for the creature swap effect to give my opponent an incantation. It also helps protect the monster it points to. Cross Sheep for the draw 2 when I ritual summon, and Nightmare Phoenix for popping back row. Annoying cards just like Imperial Order, that sort of thing. I then play 1 copy of IP Masquerena and 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn. So occasionally I won't be able to, for some reason, make a full on board or get to a Bethor as well. So what I'll do is I'll make IP going first, and then I'll just go into Unicorn on my opponent's turn to try and interrupt them that way. And lastly for Link Monsters, I play the 1 Nephthys the Sacred Flame. This is a card that very few players expect you to bring out, and late game it can really help because once your opponent has burned a lot of the resources, outing a monster like this can be very difficult. So basically it's a Link 3, and if you use 3 ritual monsters to summon it out, it basically becomes a 4800 attack Chaos Max with a double piercing, so your opponent can't target it or destroy it with card effects, and also can't be destroyed by battle as well. So it's very useful. For the rank 4s, I play the 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Gallant Granite, and 1 Tornado Dragon. So Abyss Dweller, just for negating grave effects, really useful. Also, you can use it in the draw phase or standby phase, so it does play around Kaijus and Dark Ruler. Gallant Granite searches you any rock you want from the deck, and Tornado Dragon pops a spell trap card as a quick effect. The reason I run Tornado Dragon is because in my side deck I run Artifact Scythe, which is searchable through Benten. So in games 2 and 3, I'll usually side in the Scythe instead of the Magician of Black Chaos Max, because again it becomes more susceptible to Kaijus and Dark Ruler. Then I play number 100 Numeron Dragon, number 97 Draglubion, and number 38 Hope Harbinger. So this is the OTK package. What you do is you make 2 level 8s, which is again very easy using full. And you go into your number 97 Draglubion, you bring out number 100 Numeron Dragon using Draglubion's effect with Hope Harbinger as material, you detach material, and then you just hit for 9k using Numeron Dragon. The reason this is really effective in this deck is because when you bring out your level 8s, you often bring out a Megalith Bethor before you go into this, which means you can clear your opponent's board before you just attack for face. So that's good. Then lastly, I play 2 copies of Herald the Arclight and 1 Elder Entity Intis. So this is just for my extra foolish burial targets. Herald the Arclight searches you any ritual, monster or spell, and Intis just pops a card. And that rounds up the main deck. What I'll do is I'll just quickly go through the side deck as well, just because it is linked to some of the cards that I do run in my extra deck. I run 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More, just because it beats combo decks. It's very useful, means we can set my board. I then play 3 copies of Sphere Mode. As I said earlier, we don't need the normal summon, so getting rid of as many monsters as possible that our opponent controls is really nice. It's also a normal summon, so for those people who are still playing Bird Up or a few special summon floodgates, this can get around that. Its levels are also nice as well for your Megalith ritual summons. I then play the 1 Artifact Scythe, as I mentioned, search both through Benten, so if it's popped, basically you stop your opponent from special summoning from the extra deck for that turn. And I also run 1 Barrier Statue of the Drought. It's searchable using Gallant Granite, so in games 2 and 3, I'll side this in for going first, depending on the deck I'm playing against, and you can protect it with the Bethor as well, which makes it really nice. And next for the back roll, I play 1 Harpy's Feather Duster and 2 Hey Trinade. Hey Trinade can be replaced for a Lightning Storm, but there are certain matchups where the Hey Trinade is better, such as the Eldritch matchup, because it means they don't get the grave effects, and yet that means they have to activate any effects they want straight away, so you can just kind of bait out their entire set board and then just go on with your plays. And then I play, lastly, 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone and the 1 copy of Red Reboot. Cosmic Cyclone just for cards like Shaddoll Schism, also just helps get rid of annoying cards like Mystic Mine, and Red Reboot again for back row decks. Now that rounds up the deck profile. Some of you may have noticed that it is actually a 43 card deck. The reason for that being is there's basically 3 cards in the deck that we don't want to hard draw. That is the Emergence, the Candle, and the Talismandra, as previously mentioned. After this video, I'll do a combo tutorial as well, going over the first turn plays that you want to make, what you can do when playing through interruptions, and I'll also do a going second combo tutorial as well, just so you know how to OTK easily and kind of bait out the interruptions that your opponent may have. And then I'll also do a tech option video after that. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.